I think it is very important. I think there is a danger that the monetary union might break up, and the view that upon which it was set up, it was that this would be an irrevocable monetary union. So once a member leaves, then the questions might arise as to who is next, because clearly it's no longer an irrevocable monetary union, and that was done for a good reason. Currency unions that were not irrevocable always broke down. This is what history teaches us.
But the problem is that if different parts of the currency union and their economies are performing in very different ways, it's difficult to see how you can actually speak of a union.
Indeed, and that's been the problem, partly because the currency union was set up as a political project, a project for peace in Europe rather than necessarily an economic and monetary union. And economics followed. And there has been a lot of economic integration in the last few years, but unfortunately some of the architecture is still imperfect, and part of the Greek problem relates to that. Greece has been able to borrow excessive amounts of money in the past, and now we have an unsustainable debt problem that needs to be somehow addressed, and it's a very, very difficult issue.
I understand that, but as an economist, do you think it can ever be made to work, given the disparities between the different members, if you don't accept the idea of one country member giving effectively quite a lot of money to another country?
I think it can work, and even at this late hour, there can be an agreement that keeps Greece within the monetary union, and that would protect the integrity of the rest of the monetary union. And what it takes really is just a lot of imagination and a lot of willingness. When there is a will, there's a way, I believe.
I mean, Cyprus, of course, had its own crisis.
Absolutely.
And how has it recovered since then?
Actually, Cyprus recovered remarkably well from 2013, and if you remember, in 2013 we were facing exit of Cyprus from the euro area, but an agreement was reached relatively quickly with the new government, which was quite painful for a lot of people who lost money in the banks, although a small percentage of depositors lost money. Nevertheless, those who lost money lost quite a bit of money, so they contributed to the bailout of Cyprus in some sense. There was massive restructuring of the banking system. There was austerity, although less severe compared to Greece. And the economy is doing relatively well. In fact, it had the highest growth rate in the first quarter of this year.
And who's set to lose this time if there is a restructuring?
A restructuring of debt, I think, clearly would involve some losses for
bank losses?
Not necessarily. It could be basically all the rest of the euro area if there is some amount of debt relief. But if there is a default, the amounts that these countries would lose would be even more. For example, Germany stands to lose 87.5 billion from a Greek default. I don't think it would lose that much from a debt relief. It would lose a lot less, and plus there would be a lot less uncertainty as to the future of the monetary union. So they have to find some way in which to make the Greek debt sustainable, so that we can get out of this current crisis.
And do you see any way that Greece can recover so long as it's subject to the conditions which, according to the Syriza government, are slowing it down?
Well, indeed, austerity has had a greater impact than was initially anticipated, and that's partly the IMF's kind of mistake, in the sense that the way they designed the first program wasn't quite correct in the sense of the multipliers they had put in, the fiscal multipliers. So it's not all Greece's fault in some sense that went wrong. But that meant that the credibility of the program, the initial program, wasn't there, so that people were asked again and again to contribute in terms of more and more austerity, never ending, which was pretty bad. And that's why we are where we are now.
Finally, your best guess as to what you think is going to happen?
Well, I really hope that there will be an agreement, a last-minute agreement that would protect Greece and would protect the rest of the euro area. I think that's very important. Leaders are now writing history. They can write bad history or they can write good history. I hope they do the latter.